A couple of weeks ago, I was laying in my van one fall night and decided to set off and go to the Eastern Sierras the next morning. Being at home for weeks had made me realize that I missed the free camping, the beaches, and more. But as I was embarking on my journey, something felt off. I felt as though I wasn't doing van life correctly. This would be my third time in 2 months leaving, and that off feeling was correct and became a reality when I was stranded in a city named Ukaipa. And honestly, this was not a part of the plan. Dream and I are stranded, to say the least. Just literally just decided to smoke. So we are in Ukaipa, I believe, and I'm gonna take this time to just clean the van because what else is there to do when your van breaks down besides wait on the AAA? So I utilized the time waiting for the AAA man to come by finding snacks and just enjoying the presence of my son and being stranded in a city 40 minutes away from home.
You got a friend in me. Come on, it's time for a ride.
As I opened up my doors, a mere 30 minutes later, the AAA man arrived and he drove us back to our destination. As I returned home, I realized this would be my third time in 2 months coming back home from a short lived van life trip. And I wasn't sure if it's because I was afraid or if it's just because of my family calls that made me feel pressured to come back, but all the while, I was back. And as soon as I was back, I was gone. I decided to go through Joshua Tree to get to a bunch of friends and the desert. But when I arrived, I was not expecting to see so many different van lifers and all these different people because the feeling made me feel eerie and uncomfortable, if I do say so myself.
I do not.
It was uncomfortable in a way that it was comfortable, if that makes any sense. It was the night of Halloween, and I saw this pumpkin just by its lonesome, and I was by my lonesome too. I mean, I've spoken to a few people here and we've chatted, but I was feeling like this pumpkin here. Living in a van requires a lot more effort than living in a home, I believe. I have to cook on my floor, which I guess I could build something to make sure this doesn't happen or get an actual stove, which isn't my Coleman stove, but I like this. It's simple and it's actually really efficient for me. I decided to get comfortable with being uncomfortable because I was feeling very alone here, but this dog definitely came over to cheer me up. Thanks, Yoli. The one thing I love about waking up in a van is that the sunrise and the sunsets. The sunsets have been so beautiful these days, and it definitely wakes me up at the crack of dawn. I never sleep longer than 6 o'clock when living in a van just because I just feel more alive when I'm waking up by the sun, and it makes me feel happier, healthier, and just way more excited to start the day. When I am living in the van, I cook breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and I try to make sure I do this because I like to set a routine for Kareem and I so that he knows what to expect and I know how our day is going to go. This morning, I cooked eggs and bacon and decided to open my doors and just chill, listen to a podcast, and just enjoy the weather and everything around me. I don't like being in the van when I am living in the van just because it gets really crammed when I'm in there, and I like to step out and just only be in the van if I have to be in the van. And for the most part, right now when I eat, I like to be in the van just because it helps with the flies and all of that. We had a bonfire last night, so a lot of people left their chairs out, so this was my view of the next morning. I find my space gets dirty really quickly, especially with a toddler. I'm cleaning way more often and just straightening up and just doing everything that I need to do and getting all my chores done before a certain time. I like to clean in the mornings, towards the noon, and then in the evening before it gets too dark, just because I like everything to be tidy for us because our space is so small that you want to make sure it's always clean, especially with a toddler. I like to emphasize that toddler thing because I don't want him in a space where he's feeling like he's crammed, and I don't want to be in a space where my thoughts are jumbled as well as the mess around me. So I definitely like to clean, clean, clean. When I'm not living in a van, I live in the desert, so being here in this desert felt familiar to me, and the landscape was beautiful, and I wake up every morning when I'm in my home to this exact location, so it's not totally unfamiliar to me. So I decided to take a walk because I do take the desert for granted, and seeing all these people come out here to enjoy the desert made me feel as if, wow, like, what am I missing? Like, I live here and all these people are taking pride in just being in the desert for the winter, and here I am hating the desert. But as I was on this particular journey, I realized I do like the desert after all. It's beautiful in all of its glory, and it makes up for the heat, I guess you could say. Later on, I decided to help my friend Eris with their van, and I guess they were having a leak, so we went into town and decided to fix what was going on, and then we went back because Cream and I got a little hungry. So tonight I decided to make steak and potatoes, and let me tell you, the animals love the smell of my food. As I ate my dinner, I enjoyed the sunset. It was such a pretty cotton candy color, and everyone was outside of their vans just enjoying it. They were either outside of their vans or sitting on top of their vans, and Kareem and I decided to take it further, and we decided to sit on top of our van. So, guys, we are sitting on top of our van, and looking at the sky is like a ball of fire. It is so beautiful out tonight, and all of my van friends are just chilling around, and we are all just enjoying just being here in this moment. It is just so gorgeous out tonight, and I wouldn't change this
Orange, blue. There's orange down there. Orange, blue.
We decided to have a bonfire later that night after watching the sunset go down, and it was beautiful. I figured out how to exactly start a fire from my friend Dan, and he was so kind enough to even lend me some firewood for when I do take off and is able to start my own fire. Oh my god, the sun this morning is so gorgeous. Like, wow, like I get to wake up to this. Look at this. Wow, so beautiful out this morning. As I cleaned the van, Kareem played outside, and I found myself thinking once more. Thinking again on the question I asked myself earlier. I oftentimes wonder, is it because I have a child that being on the go 24/7 isn't acceptable, or is it that I enjoy saving money with California's gas prices? I'm not entirely sure if it's because I'm in the beginning van life stages where your thoughts are jumbled together and the only thing you think matters is your destination. I've never wanted to be on the go 24/7. Anyways, however, that's what my mind connects with van life. I wanted to do van life as frugal as possible. I wanted to be out in nature and just connect with nature and just show Kareem all the different landscapes, all the different ways of living, and that's why we went on a hike this particular day. When I was living back home with my family, I never really got out the house much, so this was very different for me and Kareem, and I think he really enjoyed it. Ultimately, what started as a crappy trip turned into something so much more beautiful and so much more than what I have expected. It went from going to Yucaipa, going to the Eastern Sierras, to going back to the desert, which was only a mere hour away from home. So I just been realizing a lot of things this vlog, and I realized something else. Overall, I do love van life and all of its perks. I have never once felt unsure or unhappy or lonely, at least not yet. So yes, I did have a realization. I did realize something. What I realized and still realizing is that we all have different stories, routes, and plans, and that's okay. If one person is booking it across the USA and another one is working seasonal jobs to save up to book it across USA, or in my case, a single mother living in a van who simply fears straying away from home, we all have different paths, and that's just how life goes, living in a van or not.